Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. This will be the first bonus episode which will be about reusing projectiles. And I'm sorry for the slow updates, but I got a lot of work outside of this coding stuff. But I got a few days off, so let's get as much work done as possible. So without any further ado, let's get into the episode. But before we do that, please hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. There is more to come, so you don't want to miss that. Cheers! Alright guys, for the first bonus episode, we're gonna start off very easy. We're gonna add a method that allows us to reuse our projectiles. And that's a good practice, because the longer duration we play the game, the bigger the projectiles list is going to get, and it's just gonna be a lot of dead projectiles, or in this case, inactive ones. So every time we loop through it, when we update or whatever we do, render it, we're checking, is this projectile active? No, next. And that's just gonna grow and grow and grow, and that's not the best practice. We're gonna make so that whenever we create a new projectile, we check if there is a projectile that matches the type of projectile we're trying to create. If it does, then we just reset it to a new position, new direction, and set it to active again. So that's what we're gonna do for this episode. It won't take long, so let's get straight into it. And for reference here, I added a method in our projectile manager that every second calls out the size of the projectile list. And we can see that the size of the projectile list is growing very fast. And that's just to see the size of the projectiles list before, and then we can compare it to after we've done this change. So let's get into it. So the first coding we're going to do is inside our projectile manager, obviously. And we're just going to take a look at this method right here, the new projectile, where we create the new projectile. And all of this is just calculating the position, direction, and speeds, and so on and so on. And at the bottom here, we actually have the line which adds the new projectile into the projectiles list. But instead of adding to the projectiles list directly, right away, we're going to add some checks here. And one of the checks is going to be, is there an inactive projectile? If it is it also the same type we're trying to create? If it is, then we reset it by using all of these values that we have above here to the old projectile and then setting it to active. So let's begin. And I think just looping through it is the best way and quickest way. So for projectile, let's call it P and projectiles. The list, if P dot is active, but we want to check if it's inactive. And then we check if P dot get projectile type equals, and what do we have here for type? Type we have equals type. And now we have a match, and P needs to be reset and given all of these values. So let's see how much we already have in our projectile class. We most likely will need to add a few methods to be able to reset it. And I think we're actually going to just call one method, and inside the projectile class we do all the magic. Let's just call it p.reuse. Then we know what it is. And we will need to give it a position x, position y, the speed and y speed, damage, rotation, and I think that is good. I don't think we need to increase the ID, and the type is already checked, so it's only these values. So let's paste them in there, and let's create that method in our projectile class. Let's bring it up just under our constructor. Let's remove that, and let's change some of this. So int x, int y, x speed 2, no, x speed, y speed, damage, and rotate. Alright, it's pretty much the same as this constructor, so maybe we can even take that and do it like so and see what we can remove. We can remove this ID and projectile type. Rotate, so rotation is equal to rotate. And we also need to say active equals true. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to do here. We had all the variables, we just needed to give them new values and set active to true. Position is new, the direction is new, so yeah, I think that's good enough. Let's go back to projectile manager. And I think we need a return here, so we don't loop through this list anymore and create any more projectiles from the same one, which would be bad. But if we find an inactive, but it's not the same type, and there's no more projectiles to loop through, then we create it the normal way. So let's give this a try and see if it works. And I think it's working perfectly, because the size is 10 now compared to what it was before in the several hundreds. So the reuse works, and the enemies are taking damage as normal, so there's no funny business right there. So yeah, it is working just like we want, and this way we can keep the size in the arrays to a minimal, so we don't have a lot of dead weight hanging around. That's pretty much it for this episode, guys. Even though it wasn't a long one, this information can be useful to you at some point later down the road. And it's not a bad practice, but it doesn't apply every time, but when it does, it's quite useful. And I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the like button and also subscribe. There's more episodes to come and you don't want to miss them. And I think the next bonus episode will be about improving our pathfinding to a more advanced one. So keep an eye out for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun. But I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode as well. Take care now, guys. Cheers.